So by 2005, Chávez absolutely dominated politics again and was wildly popular. With a two-thirds majority in parliament, a friendly Supreme Court and vast oil revenues he had direct control over.
We've seen that one of Venezuela's principal economic challenges is to create diversified exports independent of the oil industry to insulate the Venezuelan economy from the fluctuation in world oil prices. And Chávez seemed to know that.
We already showed you it was in his 1998 electoral program, and by December 2011 he was still saying the same thing.
A salir de la dependencia de un solo producto, el petróleo. Tenemos que desarrollar la economía en diversos frentes.
We've already seen with the Misiones that this didn't go too well, where the government sometimes directly financed consumption. But let's now see how the rest of the economy developed.
Looking at the macroeconomic indicators until 2008, you'd think all is great. There's a lot of growth, poverty reduction and relatively little inflation. But let's compare Venezuela to countries in the region again. Remember, Venezuela had the biggest terms of trade boom. How did that translate into growth? Just looking at growth itself, you find Venezuela grew 16% in 2004 and then 8% until 2008. But this came after a deep recession in 2002 and 3. And these minus 10% and minus 9% actually eat up all the 16% of 2004. So you're left with 3 years of 8% growth. With that, in 2008, Venezuela returned to the average wealth per person that it had in the 1970s. But was this growth this or this? From the 70s we learned that you should diversify exports and accumulate reserves in good times, so that you're prepared for the bad times. To see if exports were diversified, go to the Atlas of Economic Complexity of Harvard University, which visualizes trade data. And the short answer is no. While oil exports increased, other products stayed more or less at the level of the 1990s. About having reserves, well, we already saw that the FIM was effectively emptied and forgotten. Also, compared to the growing economy, foreign reserves shrank. And Chávez ran a deficit in every year he was in power except in 2006 and 2008. That means he outspent the revenues of the oil boom. Judging by what we know from history, this growth looks more like this.
So what was it about socialism in the 21st century that led to these rather underperforming results? To start with, Chávez's Venezuela was difficult to predict, and that is a problem.
Like in the harbor of Barcelona, an economy depends on that millions of individual brains can plan their actions. And if you have a very powerful president that can change the rules overnight, planning becomes much more difficult.
And it's not like Chávez forwent using that power as well. As we've seen already with the Plan Bolívar 2000 and with some of the Misiones, it's difficult to see a long-term strategy being put into place. Rather, it looks like a series of spontaneous tactical maneuverings and quick fixes.
When Chávez thought a company charged too high prices or its wages were too low, or generally when he deemed it politically expedient, he threatened them with expropriation.
El arroz lo compran bien barato, a menos de un bolívar. Entonces le echan un chorrito de no sé qué, de tierra, de colores. Entonces arroz saborizado. Y lo quieren vender, no sé, 10 veces más caro. Entonces Mendoza se pone bravo y arremete, porque él cree que está más allá de las leyes. No, camarada, no. No, lo que voy a hacer es expropiarle. Si él sigue agrediendo al gobierno y respetando a este país, por más Mendoza que sea, por más sangre azul que sea, le voy a quitar toda la polar, chico. Toda, toda. Te la expropio, mano. No tengo problema contigo, Mendoza.
Many see these expropriations as an outgrowth of Chávez's authoritarian nature. That, at any rate, is the outcome. An authoritarian state robbing its people. Yet there's an ideological logic that may be neglected. Chávez saw himself again as a hero president that embodies a unified people and redeems it from a corrupt neo-colonial elite. So when a business didn't produce the way he, or in his head, the people, deemed good, naturally the owners became the enemy and expropriation the strategy. So it's not only Chávez's authoritarian nature, but a logical outcome of his populist ideology. And he let it cost himself and Venezuela a lot of money too. Between 2007 and 2010, his government dedicated a total of $23 billion to paying for expropriations, which is significantly more than they spent on the Misiones during the same time. Now, in virtually all of these expropriated companies, productivity crashed through the floor and stayed there until today.
The central bank calculates a physical production index, which compares the total production of some key sectors to 1997. Below 100% means they produce less than in 97, and above 100% means they produce more than in 97. What you see here is a general decline in production from 2006 and 7 onwards until today, and that only very few sectors are above 1997 levels of production, namely cement production, electricity production, oil derivatives, and steel rods. All of the rest are below 1997 levels. Of course, during the oil boom you could make up for this loss of productivity with oil money, just the way ISI used oil money to prop up inefficient companies as well.
So the big irony is that Chávez's economic policy repeated pretty much the same mistakes as import substitution industrialization in the 1970s. Again, imports became dependent on the oil price, and if anything, even more so given that some of it was directly channeled into consumption. And as we already know from history, that doesn't go very well when oil prices plummet, as they did in 2008.